Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Siegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Binner and Ash Paulson to discuss the Hyrule Warriors Direct. So let's get started. Alright guys, so Nintendo just had about half an hour long Nintendo Direct focused exclusively on Hyrule Warriors. And they showed off a fair amount of things we hadn't seen before, as well as elaborate on things we kind of knew about already, especially if you watched our analysis videos. So as part of the things they covered, they showed off like new character progression stuff like the crafting system, new characters like Zant, Ghirahim, and Ganondorf, which is awesome, and they even told us more about the NES style adventure mode. So let's go start off with your guys' quick overall impressions of what you saw.
I think this served a great purpose in summarizing what the game was all about.
Right.
It didn't really, like, for people who were following it very closely, like myself, it wasn't super exciting until you got to the new character stuff, but even then I kind of saw that coming just for the basis of how Dynasty Warriors usually works. But for people who weren't following this very closely, it's perfect. It gave you a summation of exactly what's going on, how the game works, all the fun stuff that you can do in it, and even how they're sort of like trying to get away from the repetitious nature of the series with the character progression stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I had a good time. It pretty much was what I expected. I mean, they've been revealing things so fast with all the trailers coming out that I kind of expected mostly an overview, not a whole bunch of new information, because I feel like they've had already revealed, most of the stuff that we would need to know. So, like you said, Derek, it was just generally an overview of mostly stuff we already knew, but of course, seeing them reveal the new characters was exciting. I love the stuff with the cuckoos, or cuckoos, however you want to say, and Ganondorf looks awesome.
Yeah, so, perhaps the biggest news of this whole thing are the new playable characters. Or, the fact that you can play as some of the characters that we already knew about, being Zant and Ghirahim. And then, of course, the announcement that Ganondorf will be there, too. So this is something I think we saw coming, but, so it's good to see that confirmation that you can play as these villains. But we didn't get to see a whole bunch of Zant and Ghirahim, but we got a whole trailer for Ganondorf. And let me just say, I think it looks awesome. For one, he actually knows how to use a sword in this game, which is awesome. So, it's too bad that Smash Brothers is coming after Hyrule Warriors, because they could have actually lifted some moves from here into that game. Yeah, so I don't know, what do you guys think about having Ganondorf here and the rest of the evil gang?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, playing as Ghirahim seems like it'll be fun. I'm not super excited about that, I guess. I mean, he's fine, but I'm actually more excited about playing as Zant, because he seems to have almost a comical bent to his moves. Like, he's just so crazy and so over the top that he looks like he's going to be a blast to play as. And
like when a giant helmet of his appears on the battlefield. And
yeah. And then he does like some kind of crazy drop attack, and he kind of falls over at the end of the attack.
Right.
Like, he just seems really over the top and kind of funny, and I like that. And Ganondorf this is maybe already one of my favorite incarnations of him. He almost looks like Demise, kind of like a cross between Ganondorf and Demise. And I love the little the comical bit where he just kicks open the treasure chest like a boss, basically, and just doesn't even care. And no, he's super cool, and I wish we could get that incarnation of him in Smash Brothers, but I know it's not going to happen.
Right? Like, that would actually resolve, I think pretty much everyone's issue with Ganondorf, that would just be, across the board, a great thing. And you're absolutely right about the Demise comparison. In fact, even Derek mentioned that, too, during the Direct. It's like, that looks like Demise, kind of.
Yeah.
So it kind of helps, it actually kind of helps bridge a gap, even, between, Demise and Ganondorf.
I totally agree with you guys. I mean, he looks awesome, and I had to laugh at all the comments for the video saying Ganondorf's going Super Saiyan 3 and all this. It's just really funny how people were reacting to his hair, just how much of it there is, and it's a lovely mane. And no, he looks so powerful, and I think that's what's so great about this is they're conveying the raw power of Ganondorf, and that's something you don't get to see too often. You get to see his sort of an intimidation and whatnot, but he's still when he goes to fight, he doesn't have that aura of just pure power that he seems like he should have, and it's there in Hyrule Warriors. And linking it back with Demise, seeing the progression of how he's so closely linked to that character, it's really, really cool. And I love the twin swords, and even that sword looks very similar to Demise's. So there's really so much there, and I really hope that there's references to, of course, his pig form and stuff like that. Maybe one of his other weapons is his spear from Link to the Past, or stuff like that just really plays with his character.
And actually, speaking of his pig form, that's actually something I was wondering about during it. I was kind of surprised we didn't see him turn into Ganon during, for one of his moves. So do you think that could still be in the game? Because I'm of the thought that would look awesome, and as such, they'll show it off in the trailer. So I'm thinking it's not in the game, but maybe it is like one of those super powered like combos or something.
I think it is, just because we see a lot of other superpowered forms from other characters. We got Midna and her transformation. We see Ghirahim transforming into his pure black form in the little bit we saw of him. So the pig version of Ganondorf showing up just makes so much sense. Maybe it's not with this type of weapon. Maybe it's one of his other weapons.
That could be.
But because that they've played with that too, is different weapons unlock different moves. So maybe that's why we didn't get to see it with this particular weapon.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Derek, I think you hit the nail on the head. What if he had a trident for one of his alternate weapons, which would make perfect sense for Pig Ganon, and then he transforms only when you use a trident?
You know what I want to see, although that would be awesome? I want to see Ganon's weapon be the bug catcher's net. Because he can beat him with that
cool.
in a couple of the games, I believe.
Yeah.
Would that not be amazing?
That would be pretty fantastic. I would be totally down with that.
Now, one other thing about these boss characters is, in the trailer, they appear to always be fighting normal enemies, like just as Link would. So, what's the deal with that? Do you think this is just part of like some free play mode where you're just playing as any character you want, as opposed to it being like tied into the story, like there being like a villain mode, for instance, or something?
That'd be my guess, mainly because of that whole reason that you're fighting enemies. Because looking at the hero's side, it's already pre-built for the villains to be able to fight these guys. We have, when we see the different types of enemies in the form of Hylian soldiers and our Hylian soldiers and Gorons, and they'll probably have Zoras in there, and they have Captain Forbes and stuff like that, and you'd have the hero characters as enemies. So it would make sense to have a full mode, but I guess for the sake of the trailer or whatnot, they just, and keeping things hidden, which they seem to be doing a lot of in this game, it was probably just a free play mode sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's maybe going to be a story mode associated with the villains. It'd be kind of cool if there was, almost kind of like a what-if scenario. But right now I'm kind of thinking it'll just be kind of a free play, like, bonus mode.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be cool if there were a story-only mode. Like, it wouldn't necessarily even have to be a what-if scenario. That could totally work. But it could be like what they're doing in order to, that culminates with their meeting with the other characters, at which point you battle them from the good guy's perspective, for instance. But yeah, I mean, I think the free play mode is what makes the most sense at this point. But, I'm hoping for a story mode for them. But I'm just happy they're playable. Now, they showed off a few other things in the Direct. Part of which was the, character progression. How you can, upgrade your weapons. You can get different weapons. You can, you can craft things. And as Derek touched on, that, affects your moveset. And I think we saw some examples of this, such as how you can change the ball and chain item of Link's into like a chain shop, which looks freaking awesome.
I love that.
That is such a cool callback, right, to like Link's Awakening, which in itself was a cameo. That's such a neat little detail. So yeah, what do you guys think of that whole section?
It's really neat. I mean, I kind of touched on it a little bit in the analysis I did, how, there'd be different variations of the weapons. But when I was thinking of different variations, I was thinking of specifically just the same weapon, just different stats to it. But looking at this trailer as it was going through, them showing this off, there was actually several different weapons that just matched that sort of basis. Because, for example, with Link's sword, they had the Knight Sword, they had a white sword, they had the Kokiri sword, and then they had a wooden sword. So all these are just taking place, like, the wooden and the white sword are from the original Legend of Zelda. Kokiri, of course, is from Ocarina of Time. So it makes sense now for why all these character trailers are saying a ball and chain or a something else like that, and not going into specifics, like with the Wind Waker and the baton. So yeah, it really clarified some things and makes me actually even more excited to see all these different weapons, to see what other kind of callbacks we'll get.
Speaking of callbacks, actually, they had the whole adventure mode, just styled after NES, the original NES Zelda. Now, we've already talked about that before, but we finally know how that fully works now. And basically, you explore the world map, from the original Zelda game, and each tile represents like a challenge. And when you go into that challenge, then, it turns into, then you play a Hyrule Warriors style match, where you go around, like, destroying a certain amount of enemies at a certain time, or, whatever other challenges they come up with. And then once you beat that, the other scores unlock nearby, other tiles, and go to another tile on the world map. And then you can also even explore those tiles using the items you've collected, like some basically like light puzzle solving elements. It seems like so you can find hidden items and whatnot. What do you guys think about that? Like, it seems like a really unique idea for a mode, and a way to tie it into the original Zelda game. Do you think it's pretty cool, or?
I think that could be really addictive.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all these challenges, so there's a ton of challenges there, and it looks like they have different ranks for like maybe just completing it, maybe going for an A rank victory and stuff like that, and how you get different treasures and stuff like that. And then you, of course, earn those items that can actually search and find even more hidden stuff. So it seems like this just continuous thing, which I can see myself getting pulled into, where do a challenge, unlock a thing, search for stuff, unlock more things, go to the next challenge, do the same process. And not only do you get new weapons and weapons that you can only find in here, but new characters as well. So that's going to be hugely addictive, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, this adventure mode totally has my number. You put a retro aesthetic on anything, and I'm there. You don't even have to ask me twice. They had me at the 8-bit Zelda 1 sprites and the world map. I'm totally there.
So, do you guys have any final thoughts about anything in the Direct that we haven't touched on yet, or any points you wanted to bring up?
One thing I wanted to bring up was the I've always said cuckoos, but I guess it's cucko. I don't know, but I love how funny and how their humorous representation in this game. I don't know if that's something that we had seen before, because you've been following it more closely than I have, Derek. But I love that Lana can summon cuckos, and I love that they can attack you and enemies in Hyrule Warriors. I mean, the giant cuckos are hilarious. Like, I love that this game, even though it seems to be darker, a darker Zelda game, it has a really clear sense of humor.
Yeah, I've noticed that since the beginning, is that just the cuckoos were only revealed in the more recent one, and it was sort of played for laughs, them coming through that portal, and now to show that portal actually was a weapon is really something to see, because it seems like Lana's getting a lot of the more playful weapons, and I really like that about her. Yeah, she's a completely new character, but I do really want to play her because she looks fun and interesting and has this great sense of humor to her. And you get that same sense of humor throughout. I mean, they're not taking... I mean, yeah, as you said, Ash, it's serious and kind of dark, but then you get these more playful bits, like summoning down a smaller version of the moon from Majora's Mask, the dancing of Darunia, just the sheer craziness. It's like, yeah, we know this is kind of insane, but we're going to celebrate it anyway, and I love them for that. It's really cool. And I think that's what I mean. Yeah, it's kind of sucks that as of right now, it seems that only Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword are getting represented as far as characters. But it does seem like the entire franchise as a whole, at least for most of it, is getting represented in some way through items, callbacks, stuff like that. And I really think this is laying a really great foundation for a sequel. Because you know this is going to be popular enough to get a sequel, and God, Dynasty Warriors loves to do its sequels.
Well, don't forget, Derek, it's still a Wii U game.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking, because I don't know if it's guaranteed to sell super well yet.
And Derek will be playing it, the Japanese version, very soon.
Yeah, that's true. It comes out next week.
Yep.
Yes, comes out next Thursday in Japan. Andre is currently in the process of sending me his Japanese Wii U.
Nice.
So I got to figure out how to navigate Japanese Wii U menus to get all that set up, and I'll be downloading it immediately. And you guys can expect a ton of coverage about this.
Speaking of that, August 14th is the Japanese release date, and I think all three of us are pretty much comfortable predicting that Ganondorf will be revealed for Smash Brothers on that day.
Oh, that is a good call. That actually makes a ton of sense.
I'm like 99% sure of that at this point.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. He has to announce that soon, and that will be the time to do it.
There's no way he's not coming back.
Oh no, there's no way.
Alright guys, well, I think that wraps up our Hyrule Warriors discussion, so thanks for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, which you can find links to in the description below. It's a good way to keep up to date on everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Hyrule Warriors, including our upcoming analysis videos and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.